I'll give it a font size of 1.1 rem. It's kind of like, it's a little bold on my screen anyway, on my side anyways. It does look a little bit bold. I'm going to change that with font weight. This just simply changes the actual weight of your fonts. Lower values are thin, higher values are very bold, and then of course there's actual bold. Only some fonts will support it. But we want to change ours specifically to 300 for a kind of thin font. Doesn't change too much. And then for the last bit, we just simply want to give it a margin on the bottom of 10 pixels. And then of course, if you guys want to get rid of that like jarring blue color, I only did it so like for like demonstration purposes. Oh, did I go? I hope I didn't go too fast. But the actual color is just going to be 1E, 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 1E. And then I'll expand that so you guys can see the last bit of code that I wrote and catch up. Well, everybody's catching up. Is there any questions? Anything you guys want clarified? All good? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't want to run out too. Oh, yeah, sorry.
If I wanted to add the space between the buttons and the gray box under it, would you add like margin or would I?
Yeah, you can just add some margin on the bottom. Anything else? Okay, all good. So I don't want to spend too much time on all the CSS, like going through every single little bit of it. So we did, on the Explorer Hub, we did provide the rest of the CSS code. You guys can just take that file and straight up copy paste it, and I'm going to pull it up here and just go through the most important parts just to make sure everybody has a good understanding. So does anybody else need to see this code before I like take it off? No? Okay. That's the script. This is style. Okay, this is like the full CSS style sheet for the actual website that we have. This is of course available to you again on the Explorer Hub. It's in the Intro to JavaScript code under the code section. And the most important thing here, most of this is what you've already written, but at the very top, you're probably going to see an interesting selector right there. It's the star selector. This is a catch-all selector. It selects everything. So anything on your HTML page, that style up there is going to be applied to it. And in this case, it's going to just change the font family of every single text element to enter. You can use this selector to just simply select, like, again, anything. So if you want to, like, one common use of it, for example, is that you saw earlier, most of these elements have some sort of default margin on it. If you don't really want that, you don't really want to deal with that, for example, we can just change this margin to 0. And you'll see that some of the default margin does disappear. So usually people use that to just simply override it and give themselves more control over the CSS. After that, we have our body tag. We gave it, of course, a gray background. We changed all the text color to white. And of course, we gave it a margin padding of 0 here, just to get rid of any of that. One thing that I wanted to note here on the container tag, this is an ID selector that actually exists on our body specifically. And the most important thing here is the margin as well. This is actually what gives us space between the actual contents that are within our web page and the edge of the website itself. That's why like that Spotify logo up there isn't like on the edge like it was before. So that's another use. That's another good, pretty good use of the box model to just like center the content on your entire page. And this is another important thing that this is probably one of the more important things I want to go over too. Earlier, you guys did note that on our website currently, we have the actual title and the Spotify logo in line with each other, so they're centered vertically. But here we actually use a flexbox container to change that, and we do that with display flex. It just simply makes your outer container, in this case the header, a flexbox, and that just changes the way that content is arranged inside of it. So that's why we have, it's set default to flex row, so instead of ordering everything as columns, we simply center it as a row, so we have everything in line on that row. We change the align items to center just to make sure that everything is centered horizontally, and we use justify content to change the spacing between them. So if I were to actually expand this web page fully, then you can see actually our content is justified so that there's an equal bit of space between them, and they're also at the edges of our content. After that, you can just see more of the box model used here. We have border, margin, etc. The image we discussed last time, we just simply change its width. These selectors we also did discuss. We use the results section selector and the info section selector at once, so some of the styles are applied there are the same. That's a really good way to reuse code. This is generally all the same, just a simple change in font size and padding, or margin, sorry. Most of this was also discussed last time, very basic CSS. We use list style none to get rid of those bullet points on our unordered list. And we also did give it a little bit of spacing between the list items using padding as well, or margin. Geez, I cannot see from here. There was one other thing I wanted to discuss. Yeah, there it is. Okay, pseudo classes. This is probably the last bit of CSS we're going to have to discuss here. But if you look on our target websites, somebody did mention it earlier, but when you hover over these elements with your cursor, then they actually do completely change their colors. And how do we do that? With pseudo classes. So we don't have to just select styling for just the element itself as it is on the page. We can also select the styling for what happens when things happen to it. In this case, hover. So generally the breakdown of this line of code specifically here is that we gave these, this is actually the social links. I think I'm gonna, let me actually scroll down to it. This is just simply our footer. If you check on our footer here, you can see that when we hover over things, they turn a slightly brighter white. And we gave the social links, this actual container, the class of social links. And within it, there's 3 list items. You'll probably see that on your code as is before you copy paste the CSS. We select those list items, and then we select the actual anchor tags within them, which give us those links. And we select specifically the pseudo class hover by using a colon and then the actual pseudo class we want to select. Again, hover. The thing that we want to change when you hover over this is to change the text color to white. So we just simply apply that there. And that's when those styles are applied, specifically on that element when you hover over the text. We also do have a slight animation where it slowly changes its color. And we do that with just a little bit more CSS. And it's right here. The transition is another pretty special CSS attribute. And we can specifically specify what changes, how long it changes, and the manner that it changes. In this case, we want the color to transition from the original grayish, whitish gray to a more white color. And we do that for 0.3 seconds. That's how long we want the animation to last. And we want it to have a sort of smoothish, flowy-ish animation. So that's what ease generally means there. There's a few other ones like ease in, ease out, but we decided to use ease here. I think that generally covers most of the CSS. I don't want to take too much time on it because we do want to do lots of JavaScript as well. So again, the actual entire file is on the Explorer Hub page in the Intro to JavaScript section for the Notion. You can just simply copy paste at the very bottom of your file, your CSS file, if you just want to keep the code you wrote already. For example, if you had any notes in it. Or you can just delete what you had already and copy paste what we have here. It's the same thing. You'll get the same styles. And for some of these elements, I do want to warn you, just in case. They are applied to specific things. Like, for example, the body, it's on a container ID tag. So just to make sure that for debugging purposes, if your styles aren't applying, be sure to go back to your index.html and also make sure that you have those IDs or classes in there as well. they are case sensitive. They are, you do need the exact same spelling, and you do need to pick the right selector. So for example, you can't select the ID tag with the class selector of a period. It just won't work. So again, does anybody need help finding the CSS or the HTML? Okay, yeah, I think everybody's good. Okay, so then we can start doing JavaScript. You want to do it? Okay, you want to select your...
You know what the presentation is? The presentation.
Oh, the presentation is open.
Sweet.
Do you want me to...
Yeah, just present it. Thanks.
Okay, all yours.
Second, we're gonna do that. Functionality. CSS, JavaScript. We're gonna skip that. Okay. Hello, everyone. Before diving into JavaScript, who can give me a good, I need a clothing brand name, a good one. 5. Shout out. Nike? That's good. Need 4 more. Don't be shy. North Face? Good one. You guys have good taste. 3 more. Yeah? You can put BR. 2 more. Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. 1 more. Czar or something? That. This is going to come up later. Just keep it in the back of your mind. So, JavaScript, right? We've done HTML, we've done CSS. And now we have a website. Basic features, buttons. Should look pretty decent, right? When you click on the button, what does it do? It doesn't do anything, right? So, that's for JavaScript. Does anyone have a good idea, could give me like a good guess what JavaScript is without looking at it? Okay. Yeah?
The functionality, it like makes it functional.
Exactly, perfect. So the purpose of JavaScript is pretty much the back-end functionality of your websites, right? So when you go to a Barnes & Noble, Nike, different clothing websites, when you click buttons, right? When you search things, that's what JavaScript's doing for you. Sometimes it's different frameworks and leverage, but we'll go into that later. So the purpose of this kind of teaching JavaScript for you guys is to kind of give you guys a good idea of like how to get the basic concepts of what to build as JavaScript. So with that being said, all right, I'm just going to show you this quick example. Right, so we have a quick HTML, no CSS. But when we click the button,
Oh, they can't see it.
Oh, you guys can't see it? Oh. All right, then we're gonna skip that then.
If you, like, it's in presenter mode, so if you just, yeah, literally, like, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll skip that then.
Oh.
Okay. So, why is this important, right? So, for example, when we think of JavaScript, who here has taken Programming 2? Okay, so
Sorry?
put your hands down. Programming 1.
Sorry.
Good
Are you
amount.
guys good on time?
Okay, so you guys are gonna get this topic. So you guys remember for loops, if statements, conditionals,
I'm not
variables?
sure.
You remember
We might
that?
finish
Does anyone
on
want me
time.
to go over that really quickly? Okay, perfect. Okay, so when it comes to Java, right? Who remembers how to do a variable? Can someone give me an example? Or we do a declare variable? Yes.
Declare the type, and then we write
Type, right? We will do like int, right? The type variable, and then we'll say like number, and then you'll usually give it a number, right? It's gonna be something similar in JavaScript, right? So that's a similarity there. But we're gonna do it a little differently. For 1, we're not gonna be, instead of type, we're just gonna be focusing on 2 in this workshop. We're gonna focus on let and constant. Yeah, that's let and constant, right? But we're not gonna be working on let. The main difference between let and constant, let is mutable, constant is fixated, right? So think of like, you know when you have a permanent variable you don't want to change, that's when you want constant. So we're gonna have a lot of those within the JavaScript. So we have let, we have int, or with let we have constant, you have variables. I'll pull this out.
What about var?
Var, it's a variable.
It's like a really old script.
Oh, we can cover that after. So, extra credit, there you go. The main reason I want to focus on this is you're going to see a lot of similarities with like the CSS and Java concepts, but a little bit different on the syntax when it comes to JavaScript, right? So, for example, a variable is a declaration of it's a mutable constant that when you declare that you want to move it around, right? So people know, for example, you can do int. When you have this, you do num equals num plus 1, right? So you can basically change a variable around, right? So the idea of that, and why we're thinking of that, is because same thing with a constant, right? Constant can be a variable. So we're going to be declaring JavaScript variables, such as like buttons and stuff like that. We're going to use a constant feature as a variable, and we're going to make sure it's like stacked the whole time. So that's when we're going to be declaring arrays and other functions. Another one is query selector. There's a eraser. Is there an eraser?
There wasn't even a marker here, so I doubt it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to keep my variables. So I covered variables really quickly. And then conditionals. Can anyone yell out like one conditional? Any remember? Anyone? There you go, if else. So keep in mind of if statements, if else statements. Quick rundown. If is a
Standing at the
conditional,
back here.
if the condition is met, right? So if 1 plus 1 equals 2, then a function will go out, right? A certain action will happen. Same thing with if else, but the difference between if and if else is it always reads the if first. You can never start with an if else. You can sometimes start with an else if you don't have any other if statements. So for example, if you had if 1 plus 3 equals 2, a function will happen. It won't, it'll be false because it's a Boolean, that's conditional. It only returns true or false. So then if else, or if else, you'll go down here. So we 1 plus 1 equals 2. 3, 2, then a certain function will happen, right? And then if this one isn't met, right? So say for example we had 1 plus 3 equals 2, doesn't meet, else we can print out. Let's see. So we'll print out. So that's a little rundown of if else, and else. So you kind of not get that. So, okay, awesome. So we're going over variables, right? Variables can be declared in conditionals. Actually, one of the loops. So in loops, it's similar in JavaScript as it is in Java, which you guys are learning in version 1 and version 2. So you guys remember for loops? Okay, awesome. That's pretty much what we're using. So quick rundown, for loop. There's different ways you can declare for loops. Most of them probably know this one where it's for int I, and then a conditional, which is like I less than something length, and then you'll have the first loop, right? So for loops, you'll have a condition, and as long as the condition is met, you'll have an action. And within that action, you can have conditionals, you can have if statements, else if statements, so on and so forth. So the purpose of a for loop is to continuously keep going and continuously doing action so long as this conditional is met, right? So for example, if we had a length of 4, right? And I'll try to do that section. So int I equals 0, right? So what do you think is going to happen, right? So we have the int, right, which is a variable. It's I, which is 0, so it starts at 0. And so long as I, for this iteration, is going to be 0, is less than length, and we declare length equals 4, right? 0 is less than 4, so it's going to do the loop. So it's going to print, right? We're going to do another print statement down here. Print. And then after it goes through the whole loop, it's going to go back up here. But this time, instead of afterwards, you see how it says I plus plus? That's one of the declarations. So then I would go to 1. I is less than 4. I goes down, prints again. Same thing. Then it goes to 2, right? Int I is still less than length, which is 4, or plus. Before that's going to print. So right, so if we start at 0 and it goes 4, how many times do you think it's going to print out? Anyone? Exactly. It's going to print out 4 times. Does everyone kind of get a good idea, a good glimpse of like what we're looking for? Anyone want to get a deeper understanding? Any questions so far? No? Awesome. All right. Sweet. For loops, constants, variables. And functions, finally. So you remember how I said like if a condition is met, functions will be happening, right? So function, call and function, right? So we say function, right? Hypothetically, if statement, conditional function. This is calling out a function, right? You guys remember functions? You can call a function down here. And you have your function definition like print. Right? If condition is met, function's called, function's down here, print statement. Make sense so far? Okay, awesome. I'm going to do a quick example of that before I start. So first, if you haven't already, you're going to make a file. We'll call that script.js. Right, and that's basically telling the folder that you have is going to be a document. Next, we have the data, right? So you see all this data, the browser and objects and everything. We got to make sure that when we bring it in, we have to bring it into a JavaScript file. So we're going to do that with the import file. Import this this is pretty much going in the directory when you do a dot forward. Spotify. If you already have it, see right there, press that there, pull it up. So now we have this long list within our JavaScript file, so when we call on functions, it knows what it's calling on. Next, we're going to do something called the add event string. I'm going to type it first, and then I'll talk about it.
Zoom in.
Oh, wait, can anyone in the back not see the code? Is it too small? Do you guys see it? Thumbs up. So? Okay, I'll zoom in. Thanks.
It's probably Control plus. Yes.
Yeah. Is that better? Okay. Let's do it one more time. Okay. Add event listener. We're going to give it a function name. We're going to call it DOM function loaded. Issue add quotation marks. We're going to do a semicolon. Next, we're going to do arrow function. Right. Yeah, arrow functions. No. That's pretty much our parameters, but we're not passing any. And then start the function. So first, we're going to declare a variable, right? Remember the constant. Buttons equals documents dot query left there. Documents all. Right. So
Sorry.
Is it just when your document is misspelled?
Sorry. Oh,
Visuals.
you misspelled document.
Oh, I misspelled document. Thank you.
Thanks.
How do you spell it?
Sorry. Oops.
That's my bad.
Dang.
Results button, and then make sure for syntax that you put the semicolon at the end. Next, we're going to do another constant of the result card. Equals document dot query. I don't know. Actually, we're not doing query. We're going to do get element ID. So these two functions, the get element ID and the query selector, are similar to the CS. You guys remember how the star one kind of grabs everything under the body, and then the what ID one kind of does like an identifier? It's similar in JavaScript when you're doing that. And then for the reason I'm doing document, imagine like an inverse tree, right? When we have like the DOM model, so the document object model, right? The highest one is going to be document. And as we're selecting it, right, it's selecting everything underneath it, right? So under that, we'll have like the title, heading, body, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to get elements by ID. And then result card. And we do semicolon. Right. So, before I go further, document, add event listener, right? That's pretty much telling the browser like, hey, make sure like before you start anything, listen to like make sure you're all loaded before. If you don't want anything to bug happen, just good code out. And then we have the constant. This is your variable name. Document is going into the DOM model saying, hey, look at the whole document, right? And then we have selector all, so pretty much selecting everything within whatever has that kind of ID name to it. And for this instance, we're going to be looking for the result button. And then for this one, which is the element ID, similar to all, but specifically for the ID one. And then we're looking for the result button. Why is that important? Well, because if you look at our chart, right, the finished code, which we'll do later, when we actually have the chart generated, all we're generating is within that result card. So if you guys remember when we have the result card in our HTML file, which is here, you see how we have result card under the class and the ID for the result content? So that's why it's important. So, awesome. Are there any questions so far on why I'm typing what I'm typing? Are you guys pretty good? Good? Okay, sweet. So I'm going to continue. Next, we're going to be basically giving text to our buttons. So you know how you hover over them and you click them? Nothing happens. So next we're going to attach something. So every time you click the button, a certain text is generated, and also a certain function is called upon. And we're going to be calling on 3 functions in this class. We're going to be calling on pie chart, bar chart, and line graph, right? So we'll go into that once we start introducing the ChartJS. So for this, we're going to do buttons, do a for each. Do you want to explain the for each? Or what is it? Do you want to explain the for each? Or I can also explain it, because I remember you kind of did this one.
Yeah, you can explain it because I feel like it's going to be jarring if I'm talking and you're typing.
Okay. Button. We're going to do another event listener. And quickly, if you guys notice, I put for each. That's similar to a for loop. The only difference, pretty much, is that a for each will go through like a whole array, similar to a for loop. But instead of doing like for da 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 and the declaration of everything, you just do for each of what you're looking for, and it will go through it one by one. Constant. Button text equals button dot text.
Yes?
have to declare button on number 8? Right here for the event listener? Yeah, so for this one's pretty much telling basically instructing what the buttons to do, right? So every time you click it, right, that's why it says for each. And then we have a listener, so once it gets clicked, it's basically you're gonna see, we're gonna have, if the click is the responding text to the JavaScript, it's gonna send, if the button matches the text that it's clicking on, then it's gonna be starting the function that we're gonna put in.
But do you have to declare the bottom without the S? The
Oh, this one?
yeah. Not down. Number 8.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're basically calling the button, and then you're putting an event listener on the button.
Okay.
So it's waiting to listen for a certain rate of response from the button that's being clicked.
So do not have to create the bottom and just put the name.
No. So we already made the button. So if you remember here, you said we already have a button class. Because we only have 3 buttons, we don't have to worry about adding like a specific ID on it. So it's just waiting for all the buttons. But if we had like another button that did a completely different function, then we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Does anybody else need help in the meanwhile? I can come around and help. Okay.
So next we're going to be checking to see what the button text is actually responding with. So if you remember, we had 3. One of them being most common genres, another one was average year song released, and then another one was loudest song. But we're actually going to change this one because the chart doesn't read. So instead of average, I want you to change the HTML class for the average year song release to just do year song release. It'll make more sense when we have the chart like loaded up.
Do you want to plug MITRE? Do you want to plug MITRE, or should we just keep going?
Oh, did you mention mine yet?
They did mention MITRE, but like it's about to start. Should we mention it?
Also, announcement, the MITRE workshop is going to be starting soon at, I believe, 4 to 6 in VH 131. So if you guys need to go, no hard feelings. Just make sure you guys check the Explore Hub. We'll have the live streaming on the YouTube there. But if not, we're going to keep going, keep coding. So
It's gonna start in 15 minutes. It's completely fine if you guys want to get there late as well. Go and like try and talk to the recruiter. Feel free, whichever one. It's
But we're
up
gonna-
to you guys.
yeah, but we're going to keep coding in JavaScript, so it's up to you guys. So I'm going to keep going. So we're looking for the text, right? So I'm looking for most common genre. And then for this one, remember, we're calling on a function. Create genre chart. And then instead of just, actually I'm gonna keep going. So next we're gonna do if the button that is clicked isn't returning most common genre, we want to do the next one, which is year song released. So we're gonna do else if button text equals, and remember to do, I forgot to do it up here, remember to do 3 equal signs. It's just syntax for checking a conditional. And also put button text. I think I did this right. Okay. That's my genre, button text, year, song, released. Boom. I don't know how to do that. There we go. And then we're going to have it call another function, which is going to be creating the year chart. And then we're going to have one else. Actually do. So for this one, we're going to do else or else if. But I'm just going to do else if, just because. Else if button text equals loudest song. Song track. Loudest song track. Okay. So if it looks something like this, and you can see this is where our function's coming into play. So we have a button, right? So say for the click, and then whatever the text that's going to be turned into the text content, and then it's checking the text, depending on what the content is, depending on the buttons we have. So we have 3, which is both common genre, year song release, and not a song. And if you look, we have 3 different functions that we're going to be developing later. One's going to be the genre chart, one's going to be the year chart, and one's going to be the loudest song chart. So we're going to have 3 different buttons, and then depending on what they click and the text that is returned, is the chart that's going to generate. Is there any questions so far? No? All right. Awesome. So we're going to move to the next part, which is creating the chart. So it's not this one. This one. Sweet. Okay. So now we're going to declare our functions. But before we do that, I want everyone to go to chart.js. Just really quickly, just to show off something. So what is chart.js, right? Well, if you start looking at the code and you start going to the website, you'll start seeing what it is. It's pretty much a library. And what is a library, right? So we have 3 different libraries. So I remember how you guys mentioned these, right? So for JavaScript, when we're thinking of libraries, right, they're similar to frameworks as well as script, as well as languages, right? So for languages, could we say Java is a language, right? So Java, Python, etc. And then frameworks could be stuff that's built on top of languages. So we have like React, Rust, Go, and then for libraries, think of developed code that can be called upon for specific functions, right? So for this case, for chart.js, we want to make a chart, right? But instead of developing all the code from scratch, chart.js is a library that you can call on with just like a couple scripting languages in already developed code that allows you to create a chart without having to redevelop the code, right? So if you try to use, for example, React, you could probably make a chart in React. But the problem with that is if you already have an HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you probably have to start a React build project and then you have to redevelop everything, right? So the cool thing about libraries is if you want something that, like, for example, a cool development or a cool feature, you can call it just putting a script tag and then creating a chart.js bot. From there, you can actually create a really nice little chart. That's where we're using chart.js. And for documentation, if you ever have confusing like ideas of like how the library is used, what it's used for, one of the good things about like all the libraries is they have a lot of great documentation. So you'll have getting started. They'll give you sample code, different examples, integration, installation. You don't have to worry about installing, mostly because it's a library. So you just have to put a script tag, and it'll pull from the library into your own code to develop it. So if you want to like buffer code and make it look cooler, that's a cool thing about libraries. And here you'll see the different chart types. So we're going to be using the bar graph, so it's going to look something like this. We're using a line chart. We're going to be using a donut as well. Is there any questions what a library is versus like scripting versus frameworks? No? Okay. That's not the case. I want to present this really quick. Just to show. Ooh. Right. So we have libraries, pre-written code, frameworks like React, Angular, Vue, Next.js, if you guys use that before for projects, and then scripting languages. So now that I've showed ChartJS. Oops. Now we're going to implement it. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to here. Before we actually declare a function, we need the script tag. And we're going to put that in our...
Wait, they can't see.
Oh. Dang it.
And also, while you're in the HTML file, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Like, no, like literally when you pull it up.
Okay.
And like, this code, yep. And there was something about here. Because I just want to double check something, because somebody asked me earlier, like, why do we have so many nested divs? I think I accidentally mixed up those things. Just to make sure, result card, and then here, shoot, sorry, this is taking long. Okay, result card, get element by ID, result card, and then, oh yeah, okay. And then results, okay, my bad, okay.
So we're going to include a script tag. So I want you to go to your index. And at the bottom of the index, right before, after the footer, we're going to include a little script tag. This is basically calling into our HTML, the chart.js. So when we display it, it doesn't have to work as hard. We don't have to do a bunch of line of codes just to make a simple chart. So we're going to do a script tag. And then we're going to get source code equals.
You're outside the tag.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
Very good.
Oops. There we go. Nice. And then we're going to reference it. / J S D E L I D R .net / chart .js. Awesome. And then after that, wait, did we include we include this one, didn't we? We're gonna
No, yeah, that's just actually actual script, like the script file.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
And then when you're done typing that, I just want to correct that mistake.
Okay. So we do type, it's going to be called module. And then equals script.js. Sweet. Awesome. So basically including that script tag will basically make sure it'll call into the chart.js what you want to pull into the software. So whenever you want to use a library, just make sure you put the script tag and then read the documentation and then you can implement the chart.
And I just want to correct one little mistake, bit of mistake I made. I think lots of people were asking, like, what exactly do we have so many nested divs for? I think I accidentally said we're scripting on this div. No, I meant we're using this ID to select this specific div for the scripting. This is for styling. I think I switched them around earlier. I don't know if anybody caught that, but yeah, that's my mistake. The class is for styling, this ID is for scripting, and this is just for styling. That was my bad.
Awesome. So now that we have the chart.js into our scripting, any questions? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so now that we have it called in our function, what's good about this is like when we start calling on functions and such, it will make it easier when we develop the charts. So. You good? Okay. So now that we have chart.js, we need functions for it, right? And if you look up here, we have 3 that we need to make. So we're going to be making a genre chart, a year chart, and a louder song chart. And before going into like making the functions, I want you guys to go back to chart.js. And if you guys want to change the charts, feel free to it in your own time. This one, we're going to be doing the bar chart first, though. So if you look, the configuration for it, basically it's telling chart.js when you configure it a certain way with the proper syntax, making a call to chart.js to bring it back, and then it'll display it the way you want it to. So which can be a little weird sometimes. So for example, this one's a little setup. It has the labels, the data, the different colors and such. So, and also there's like extra like properties you can have. So really recommend going through it if you want to like customize it or go a little bit more. Script. So I'm going to do a function. We're going to create genre chart. And we're going to go here. Then do another constant variable. I'm going to call it genre carts.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think they need help. Be here for the next one.
Sweet. Now that we have an object variable, we're going to want to keep track of the genres, right? Do you have the working section?
Yeah.
Oh, it's it. Okay, you do. Okay. So if we
It's
go
on.
this one, right? No, not this one.
Yeah, this one's working.
This one, right? So if you notice, right, when we click the button, most common genre, it's checking the bar. It's checking to make sure the text is the most common genre, and then if it is, then it's going to do a function creating a bar chart. And if you notice, we actually have different genres. So we have pop, rock, country, metal, hip hop, different ones. So how do we want to keep track of that? Well, we want to keep track of two things. We want to keep track of the numbers, and then we also keep track of the genres that we have. So how we're going to do that is using an object variable with a key pairing system. So pretty much think of like, is anyone taking data structures? No? Okay. So I want to explain. Marker. Pretty much the gist of object key pairing system. It's kind of like a hash map, right? So, do you guys know arrays? You guys do not know arrays. Okay, that'll be very simple. So if we have like an array, right? Empty array.
Sorry.
Right, we have 1, 2, 3, right? An object key pairing system is kind of like a hash map in the sense that we have an object, but instead of having one object, we're going to have one object and also you have a value to each object, kind of like a key. So we'll have one, right? But for example, if we have one, or actually I'll do a better example. We have pop, right? So we go through the data, right? We're going through the data, right? We find one object in our large database of objects, right? You see how we have hip hop, right? So for example, we'll say that's pop, right? So we go through the object. As we're going through the function reading it, we see pop. We add it, it's not in the array yet. We won't have it in there. We add one, and we add 1 to it, right? And then we see it again, there 2, right? So when we're calling on the object, right, that we have in the object key pairing system, is we're keeping track of the genres that we have and the amount that we have. So when we do the bar chart, and we have the labels and the data, when we do the labels, it automatically does it into the chart as different labels. It's like pop, hip hop, rock, and such. And then the values will pop up according to how the order is. So you can change, so that way, when you change the data and you change the numbers, you don't have to go back through and change the chart. So it's a dynamic chart that you're actually using. So you can plug in different data. So, does that make sense? Do I need to explain anything more? No? Okay. We're going to go through here. Now we're creating our genre chart, right? So we made an empty array. And we have nothing in it, it's completely empty. We're going to do a for loop of we're going to declare a variable, which is a for loop. We're going to look for a song in the for loop, right? Song this. That is not before. This. And here we're doing the const genre equals song genre. And I'm going to explain what this is in a second. We're going to split, and then we're going to map it to our genre counts, or song genres, genres. So what this function does, right? You have content, we're declaring a genre, and we're going to each genre, we're splitting it by the commas, and we're mapping it with an arrow function and taking off the extra space. just in case we have to trim here because in case like we get the data and there's like extra white space, the last thing we want is we don't want like two categories where one pop, right, and then one pop with like an extra space, right? They're all same thing. So that's why we have the trim at the end, and then we're mapping it and splitting it also and adding it to the drop. Next, we have our labels. For these ones, these labels and data, right? So this is going to be our key value. Oh, I spelled it wrong.
Wait, press inst on my keyboard. Like in the number pad, there's a 0. It says inst under it.
Oh, that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Another variable we're having, we're adding labels, so we're keeping track of the genres and then the values per genre. So that's what the data, that's what it is. I'm gonna make a canvas. Right now, I'm adding HTML, which is basically clearing out to make sure there's no other bar graph in it. So when we add it, it's not open up. So this, right, calling on canvas, it's going to create a canvas for us for that result part, so remember that on the footer was, for the result where we want to be, and then it's going to clear it, and then it's going to append, so it's going to append the child, which means it's basically attaching the chart to the result. Now we're going to be adding the canvas, we're going to be making an actual canvas. So the chart, sorry.
I think you're missing an equals.
So for the next part with the charts, we're going to go to paragraph. Config. this. I'm gonna paste it, but I'm gonna code it. So generate a new chart. Bar. Yeah.
Sorry.
Labels. We're gonna put labels in here. I'm kind of speeding up a bit just so we have time. Labels. Data. It's gonna be data. Background color. We're gonna add a color of the Spotify color. Background color. We're gonna make it RGBA, which
Thank you. The data set's line.
like the data sets.
Did you?
Thanks.
And also it's chart and it autocorrect. It's a character data. Yeah, no, I get
That's
it.
too much.
No, for real.
It has to be a new chart. Sometimes the auto.
Yeah, no, the autocomplete hates us.
So it's bar, data, labels, data sets. Data sets. Could be a curly bracket. Labels. Next we're gonna do color. So we're gonna do RGBA. We're gonna do 35, 255, 64, and 0.8. Sweet. Make sure your syntax is correct. So next we're gonna do border colors. Border color. We're going to do RGB. We're just going to make it black for now. It's just going to be 0, 0, 0. And this one should be, oh, forgot to close it off. So now that we close it off, and we have that. We can do border width of 1. Great.
Comma at the end of the previous line.
Oh, good.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah. And then we're going to add a couple extra, just for looks. Right, that's right there. Or is that something else? Ooh, wait, no. I'm trying to see what that is.
It's at the end of the data.
The data.
So yeah, it's at the end. Yeah, you're at the right spot.
I think I need a comma here. So I'm going to do options. Scales. Y equals. And then begins at 0. It's true. Okay. So this one, if we look at it, not this one.
Oh, refresh the page maybe.
Oh, that's wrong.
The server might be off. Okay.
Wait, what? Why did I do that? Wait, hold on. Maybe I gotta refresh it. Okay. Wait, why isn't the hover thing not working? It's like the hover thing and the CSS is.
Oh, did I? Let's see. I might have not added the CSS. That's a whole different thing. But let's see. Wait, sorry. The JS.
Yes?
Is all of this supposed to be outside the function?
The script?
Did you We wrote it outside the function. Oh, no, I mean,
Oh.
is all of this supposed to be outside the function?
Oh.
Yeah, it's outside the function.
Yep.
Good catch.
Thanks. Debugging. Okay. For each wait. Create giant track.
Yeah, I didn't even see that. My bad.
Did I do this wrong?
Hmm?
How did I miss this?
What's wrong?
Create genre chart. This one here.
Yeah, it's just all the all the extra code just outside. So you just
Right here.
That's
Okay, that should work.
cool. Can I try click on it anyway? Because the CSS isn't going to turn it to a. No? Okay.
Yeah. 1 second.
Debugging. Part of everything.
Okay, genre chart. Right. Okay, let's see. Open function, genre, for loop, constant splitting.
While he's debugging and while this code's still up on the screen, does anybody want an extra explanation of anything that's currently here? Anything need to be broken down, re-explained, anything like that? All good? I think you can probably just like find the end of that function and just copy paste everything, move it back in, can you?
From the Explorer?
No. No. I meant like, not from the Explorer Hub, like everything that you wrote outside that function, you can probably just, like from here on, you can probably just go all the way down to like the end of the chart code.
Like here?
Yeah, and just straight up move it, can't you?
Into the function?
Mm-hmm.
But that was an actual one.
No. Dink. Okay. It's fine. I have the other code here.
I do wrong.
Are we about to start console logging stuff?
Okay, so how's it working? Also, if anyone sees anything, you feel free to call it out.
Yeah.
Figure out why it's not.
You wanna?
Function. I'm about to just copy it.
Yeah, that's right.
There's 2 folders in this one. For song list. Oh, maybe I forgot to do this one. That might be wrong. Okay, so hold on. Got 1 for loop in here. It's embedded.
That's literally how you write
I put 2 minutes.
It's extra. It's extra.
You get the first name, last name, combined into one string.
And what's that?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, I know. That's wait. Oh shoot! I'm looking at the whole wrong thing. Okay, there's 2 brackets at the bottom. Okay, so that one was.
That one's fine. I want you to do that. And then here, open. Labels. Paragraph.
Yeah.
Sequence.
It's really trying to
This one. That's not sad. So now this.
Refresh. Some,
Wait, CS. Wait, did we import the CS? I don't think so. Do I have to import?
I mean, if you want, we can do a console log statement and just make sure it's not the fact that the file is screwed up.
Yeah. So what we can check is
Okay, there's a few different errors. One of them was just a simple parenthesis error, so just make sure, since this is going to be a massive method, it starts with a parenthesis at the very top. Make sure that you have also a matching parenthesis at the bottom. And when you're importing that statement up there, it's a JavaScript file specifically. You do have to add that file extension .js at the end.
Yeah. So again, with that syntax, what we're doing is, if you guys notice, we have the create genre chart, right? So we're creating an object, and then we're I put a little log, so if you ever have like debugging issues, you can do a log, but we don't need it. Now we're doing a for loop. It's going through the integer of song through the song list, and as it's doing that, it's mapping it and splitting it, taking account of the different genres and as well as the number of genres. And that's what the second for loop is for. And if it makes it, this iteration right here is for the genre counts. So if it's non-existent, it creates a new one, and if it already is, it's going to add one as it's going through. So for example, if we have the first iteration of like pop, right, and then we find hip hop, because of the or 0, it's going to add a new genre, hip hop. And if it isn't, then it's going to add one to pop. So go. And then it's going to do the key value with the genre counts of the labels and the data. It's going to create a canvas. It's going to clear the content after that. It's going to append it to the canvas to display it. And then it's calling on the new chart. It's going to be a bar run with the labels, number of songs, RGB, the border, and the options as well. So when we go back, when you click it, it should generate the genre. If you look on the bottom, we have the pop, the rock, country, metal, hip hop, Latin, and different ones. So yeah, so that's the first one of 2. So we are running short on time, and I don't want to have you guys like have to push really quickly. So the rest of the 2 charts are in the Explore Hub. If you guys go to the Explore Hub, I'll show you guys right now. You guys go to the web dev. You'll find the other 2 charts, the create year chart and the louder song. I'm going to show you guys how to push the code. So if you guys remember, you can do, if you have Microsoft, it's going to be Control-Shift-Back-Tab. If not, you can go up here in VS Code, the 3 dots. You're going to go to Terminal, New Terminal. And depending on which system you're using, be it Apple or Microsoft, if you're using Apple, use Bash. If you're using Microsoft, use PowerShell. And then you're going to go in here. You're going to do get add period. What it's going to do is add all the new files to your code. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to do get add or get commit, which is going to commit all the code. You're going to add a message. So you're going to code JavaScript. Right. And you see it has 3 file changes, 1 insertions, 1 deletion, and then we're going to push the code. So now that's pushed. You should have a working genre, and every time you click it, it'll regenerate. And when you add the other code, it'll have the year song release, and it'll look something like this. So yeah, that's the JavaScript. That's pretty much JavaScript for you guys. I'll leave this up here in case you guys need help pushing the code. And yeah, next time we'll be doing
APIs.
APIs and finalizing as well as deploying it.